To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's happening? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for Singapore Sling. Written and directed by Nicholas Nicolaides, Singapore Sling stars... The voices. They won't stop telling me to get into things. A man searching for his long-lost lover is kidnapped by her killers, an insane mother-daughter duo, and they force him to commit various sexual atrocities with them. Along with horror, extreme or otherwise, another genre of storytelling that I just love is crime, be it mystery, thriller, or more specifically, film noir. I don't know what it is, but putting a detective-style character in the middle of a puzzle he has to slowly complete with the promise of romance and the threat of death hanging over his head always appealed to me. Then for added style, you dip the whole thing in high contrast black and white and you've got all my money. Well, in my search for more extreme art house horror fun times, I stumbled across this wretched little thing. A Greek film from 1990 that the director seems to think is a comedy. It's funny in the same way a toddler tripping over into a turned on blender is funny. Here's a joke for ya. What do you get when you put a baby in a blender? I don't know. I was too busy. Honestly, I think we might have hit peak Jonjo Lyons reviews with this one. It's got almost everything I could ever want in a movie I'm covering for the channel, and I cannot wait to get into it, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to experience what can only be referred to as confusing of the movie. This is Singapore Sling. The movie begins with this beautiful classical cinema score as the opening credits run and the rain pours. Cut to mother and daughter as they bail water out of an open grave. We also get our first cheeky shot of bush here. A mere 3 and a bit minutes into the film. I'm sure it won't be the last. Daughter takes a break to get some water, and when she offers it to mother, catches a face full of mud. Mother then climbs out and the women both drink. Cut to this car and then to a man as film noir music and voiceover kick in. He explains the tough position he's in. Broke, homeless, friendless, drinking in the rain. Relatable. The type to chase after lost causes with female names which lead nowhere. And mine was your mum. He says he lost her 3 years ago, and every time he smells jasmine on a passing girl, he thinks of her and starts looking for trouble again. The man then reaches under his jacket as he comments on the women he's observing and admits that he's been shot in the shoulder. He then pulls himself into the car and passes out in the back seat. Cut to mother and daughter as they pull the body of another man out of the bushes.
Night in the garden. The burial of our chauffeur.
Oh, wait. Are you talking to me? There's fourth wall breaks in this one. Excellent. The women heave the chauffeur over to the grave and in doing so tip the body, causing his inside bits to fall out onto the floor. They pop him back in, button up his jacket, and then dump him into the grave. The daughter then starts to fill the grave as mother sits down for a cigarette. The chauffeur's hand reaches up to the edge of the grave and daughter notices with a smile and stamps on it. The victim then reaches up and grabs mother's boot, and the daughter deals with this by clonking him on the head until he lets go. Daughter then drops in a wreath and the two prepare to leave. Cut to daughter chilling by the fire as she tells us about the chauffeur, father and the old days. She explains that mother said it would be easy, but the chauffeur was strong and had to be stabbed 5 times, and when they buried him, he was still alive. She then tells us about the first time her and her mother killed. It was 3 years ago while father was away hunting. She was a secretary and her name was Laura. But that's the name of the woman the man is searching for. She says everything was easy with Laura and that she seemed strange, like she was running away from something. She then says that her and mother often play the secretary game, with the daughter taking the role of Laura.
Then give me some name to call you.
Laura, if you don't mind.
Laura, comme c'est étrange.
Mother tells her to come closer and kneel, which she does. She then asks how long it's been since she confessed, lifting her dress, revealing this instrument. Good lord, this is taking a turn. She pops the daughter's head under her skirt, asking how old she is and if she's a virgin, as it's essential she is if she wants to work here. The daughter says 20 and yes, to which the mother replies she wants proof, with the daughter saying it's up to her to prove it. Mother then tells a short story about trying to catch a rabbit before sliding off her chair. Cut to daughter pushed onto a table and asked to recite the rules of her servitude. Not allowing their master to come to harm and not allowing themselves to come to harm as long as it doesn't interfere with the first rule. The mother pops a gag in daughter's mouth when she quickly asks that she not hurt her, as she really hurt her last time. And then they bang. Cut to daughter having tea as she watches a memory of mother dragging her into the kitchen and disemboweling her, then to mother and daughter putting guts in glass containers next to a still beating heart. Cut back to the fireplace with daughter as she explains that in the old days before father died they didn't have such problems. He would kill the servants and their job was to plant decorative and aromatic flowers on the grave.
Pelargonium, pansies, and verbena.
What happened there? Are you alright, love? Looks like she nearly slipped out of her chair to the memory. I bet it's like a water slide under that jacket. She says father was very proud of their garden, calling corpses the best fertilizer. Since he died, however, the garden has been neglected. She then reminisces about the time her father took her virginity.
I was very young then, only 11 years old. How cruel, Father, how cruel. Heaven will punish us. Hell.
Here, with an outfit like that on, I bet he's into bandage. Eh? Bandage? She tells us she wishes he was here now and is joined by mother, who says tomorrow they will plant the garden like the old days before turning to address us. She says daughter will now retire to the attic and she still believes her father is alive.
Elle croit que son père vit toujours. Elle est folle.
Cut to the attic as daughter explains that she comes here often to smoke as her mother doesn't allow her to smoke. She then comments on the little thing between her mother's legs, and when you touch it, it grows up and up and up and gets big.
Everybody, even my mommy, thinks my father died. It's not true. Someday he'll be back and commit such horrible deeds that the world will never forget them.
Cut back to the car outside and then to the man as he explains his current and dire situation. He calls himself a fool as Laura has not turned up, even though everything indicated she had been here before. He says he was very good at his job once, that's what everyone said, but then his mind became tangled and he was fired. He says it was a routine job and tried to reassure himself he'd forget about it, but things don't always turn out as expected.
Έπρεπε όμως να μπω μέσα σε αυτό το σπίτι μόνο και μόνο για να μάθω για ποιον θα πουλούσα το τομάρι μου ακριβά και αυτή τη φορά. Απλώσα λοιπόν το χέρι μου για να σηκώσω το τηλέφωνο και λιποθύμησα πάλι.
Cut to daughter cupping mother. Not cupping, cupping. Right? Chill out. At least not yet. Daughter says mother caught a cold and she thinks she got it when they were burying the chauffeur. Daughter tells us that she's fine now, that her crisis has passed, although she had a premonition that something bad was going to happen to them. She says mother is sad that chauffeur is gone as they are all alone now and she wants to cry but thinks it will just make things worse. She then describes being shocked by a sudden ring at the door.
Who could it be at this time of night, Mother asked me.
Who could it be at this time of night?
I thought it might be a new chauffeur from the personnel office. But again, at this hour, it seemed unlikely.
Mother tells daughter to get father's gun and make sure it's loaded when we have this exchange.
Find out who it is before you open.
Autobiography title? Whoops, my little t***s. The Jonjo Lyons story. She tells her not to forget that nothing happened yesterday. Daughter opens the door and is grabbed by the man, who comments that her earrings remind him of something, that he feels like he's slipping on something hot and wet. And with a little luck, he can get her out of there, but luck isn't always enough. Daughter stuns him and calls out to mother, who's currently putting her little away. That's what she called him, alright? Don't start. She says it's a man, as the dazed fella considers how to convince her of his good intentions and fiddles with his shoelaces. This somehow works, as she begins to help him. He then considers talking to her, but doesn't think she's in the mood to listen, and is uncertain if he could even utter a single word. Cut to daughter dragging the man in as mother puts on her makeup. Mother asks if she secured the door and who this is, to which the daughter responds, a man. She then places him down and pours herself a drink. Mother asks what's wrong with him, and daughter says that's how she found him. She says he doesn't look like a chauffeur and asks if he said anything, but the daughter again says she found him lying on the doorstep. Mother says they must call the police and tells daughter to watch him before leaving the room. Daughter then gets up close to inspect him, sticking her tongue in his mouth and getting a little fanny twitch. She sticks the gun down his trousers and then gives it a sniff before jumping on for a ride. She then plays a guitar solo as mother reconsiders calling the police. Mother then throws the daughter off the man as she aims the gun at her, causing mother to have an orgasm. And I thought my family were f***ed up. What's this brother doing asleep on the floor? You're missing all the fun! Daughter then starts to think mother is dead and crawls over to her, asking her to wake up when the woman jump scares her. Daughter asks what happened with the police, and mother says nothing works in the storm. She gives mother's nipple a lick, and they talk about what to do with him, with mother suggesting the garden. They then search him, finding a harmonica, some cigarettes, an empty holster, and a flask. Mother notices the blood, and daughter asks what they should do, but mother tells her to continue the search. She then finds the man's notebook, which contains a page reading what happened to Laura. Daughter wonders if he's from the police, and mother reminds her that no one died in the house. She says they'll keep him until they can find out who told him to dig into Laura's disappearance. The notebook also contains a diagram of their house and a recipe for the cocktail Singapore Sling.
Singapore Sling?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
A cocktail they used to drink in the old days. Singapore Sling.
Cut to the women in bed as the daughter speaks of her new obsession with the man, his scent of blood, sweat and fear exciting her. She then pops over to the room he's being held in and sticks on a record. She asks him if he's alright and says this is her house. She said she found him on her doorstep and they tied him up because he was saying strange things about some Laura, and they were afraid. She then shows him her vagina, saying you want this, and making it smile, which is hilarious.
Look here, you want... What?
She asks him if he wants something to eat and says tomorrow mother will question him, and if she doesn't like his answers, she'll torture him. She then jumps on and says Laura is an illusion.
Laura is a face in the misty light. Footsteps that you hear down the hall. The laugh that floats on a summer night.
And then vomits in his face.
Forget her.
But a small price to pay for the poon. A vag tax, if you will. Cut to daughter getting back into bed when mother addresses us, calling her a little. She says her daughter thinks she doesn't know what happened, but she heard everything and tomorrow they'll have it out. Cut to daughter smoking and digging in the garden. She's joined by mother, who asks if she's checked on the prisoner yet, but daughter says no. She then tells her to come and join her once she's done here, and they'll go check on him together. She also advises daughter best stop planting, as they may soon need to reopen the grave.
Stupid. Honestly, someday I'll kill her and I won't have anybody over my head.
Cut to the man waking up, daughter flipping this switch, and the women sitting down to interrogate him. Mother tells him they found him on the doorstep and then reads out his questions about Laura's disappearance.
Now we want to know, which train did Laura take? How long did she stay at the lake house? Who broke the radio? And why didn't she hear the news of her death?
She then asks who's Laura and why is he looking for her, before daughter pipes up asking who he is. She makes a thinly veiled threat and then says her daughter says he's the new chauffeur and challenges him to recite the rules of the servant, which the daughter does instead. They then fix this electroshock thing to his head and start to ask him who killed Laura. is a real pants situation waiting to happen. Anyway, then mother in his face.
Here. You ready? Come. It's nice. You don't.
Which would just put me over the edge. I don't know about you. Cut to the rain and into the women digging into a lush-looking seafood platter as the man watches on. They both stuff their faces and drink before eventually vomiting, which is just wonderful. The man looks down and notices his shoe is still untied, which for some reason causes him to smile. He then drags himself over to the table and tries to eat, with the mother shoving his head into the dessert and getting turned on. She rests the man's head on her breast and daughter seems to get jealous before leaving. Cut to the attic where the daughter does this. I just don't know how to feel. She finishes and we cut to mother suffering from delusions of the man's being all over the house. She says her daughter lets him roam around when she's asleep, leaving his scales everywhere. Cut to the man back in his room thinking about the case. They says that later they all realised he was ready to pin the murder of the strange girl on anyone just to keep Laura out of trouble. He knew someone had plotted her death, but who and why? He then once again suggests that he has finally found Laura and hopes he can take her away from this place. So, is the daughter Laura brainwashed by the mother with rumpy-pumpy torture? More on that later. Daughter enters dressed in her secretary gear and sticks on a record. She says he doesn't need to love a corpse. She's alive now and read his notebook, understanding he loved her before he met her. She says now they'll finally be together. She continues he has to help her as the woman out there wants to turn him over to the police and she doesn't want to lose him again. She then begins to taunt him, saying he's thirsty, it's all he can think about. He doesn't even think about her. She says she's gonna get out of here and try to find help. She begs him to hold on for her and whenever he hears this song playing to think of her. Daughter then leaves and the man falls off the bed, seeing his untied lace and laughing. Cut to the daughter getting into the car where she's surprised by mother in the back seat. They then start to talk about her as if she's Laura, saying a girl was killed in the house 3 years ago and everyone thought it was her. And in 2 glasses they found the cocktail Singapore Sling. Mother then orders her inside and we cut back to the man's room. Daughter enters and helps the man back onto the bed and then goes to call for her friends to let them know she's still alive before hiding behind the door as mother enters. She quickly finds daughter and throws her into a chair, asking her who she's covering up for, but daughter says it's her who's trying to protect someone. Mother reminds her that they buried Laura together, but she denies burying anyone and asks why mother is doing this in front of the man as she'll ruin everything. She slaps daughter, telling her she better tell the truth, and the radio at the lake house being broken is mentioned again. Daughter says she'll make him talk and mother says she shouldn't expect help from anyone as that one is already dead. Mother then says she has 24 hours to make him talk. Daughter once again pleads with the man for his help, stressing mother will kill them both, and then we cut to mother as she once again addresses us, saying some very important things happened late last night. The police attended the property looking for someone named Singapore Sling, but they said they didn't know anything, and of course the cops believed them and left.
Ah, and something else. Our prisoner talked, so let's see how that happened.
Cut to the man's room as mother enters and puts him back on the bed. She tells him the police just left and sooner or later they'll get him. He looks at the daughter's portrait as mother says they're going to do some exercises to see what shape he's in. She starts sounding out vowels to get him to repeat them when we hear the daughter screaming in another room. The man starts to respond when daughter screams again and mother says they are torturing someone in the cells. She then starts to play a game with him.
J'ai de petits oiseaux, de jolis moineaux. Hop, l'un s'envole. L'autre s'envole.
She says he is thirsty and wants some water and sings again.
I want water. I want water. Who killed Laura with water? Water.
She then says it's time to see who the woman is being tortured. Cut to the pair entering and finding daughter chained up. Oh, did anyone's mouth just water? The man reaches out to touch the woman as mother comments that they haven't even started yet. Daughter says that she is Laura and begs him to do what the woman says so he can get out of here and they can meet up again at the lake house. Mother hands him a whip as daughter tells him to whip her.
That's the only way we can stop her.
Yeah, go on.
Hit me, Singapore Sling.
Go on, mate.
Hit me.
What are you waiting for? The man turns to leave and drops the whip as daughter asks him again to hit her. He then bends down to tie his shoelace when mother threatens to kill her if he doesn't talk. He latches onto her legs as mother explains that was when he finally talked. She says 3 years ago a woman was killed in Laura's apartment, and since she was wearing Laura's clothes, everyone thought it was her. The man then fell in love with her as soon as he saw her picture. After some time, Laura reappeared and stayed with him for a while. Mother and daughter pop the man in the bath as mother continues saying Laura fell in love with someone else and disappeared. The man then became an alcoholic and lost his job but never stopped looking for Laura. Cut to another dinner scene as the women stuff food into the man's mouth. And after a while, he vomits. Cut to the man strapped to the mother's back as she recites that nursery rhyme about the rabbit. Daughter tells us she's playing with him and seems happy enough, that she once took Laura from her and now wants to do the same with the man.
Maybe she's making plans for the future, but others here are making their own plans.
And now we have a scene where the daughter rubs a kiwi fruit all over her body. Between her breasticles and then down to her bearded clam. While sticking her finger through the fruits in an effort to improve the taste. When I was a kid, someone told me that vagina tasted like kiwi fruit anyway. Not that I'd know. I've only ever seen them on telly. Anyway, she does this until it's complete mush. I wish I was a kiwi fruit. Cut to the man in the garden looking at the flowers daughter planted. He finds a dead bird, which he then f***s. Nah, I'm joking. You wouldn't be surprised though, would ya? He should have f***ed the dead bird. He starts digging away at the ground as we get a quick glimpse of the daughter tied to a bed with a gag and a shock torture device on her head. We cut back and forth between the daughter and the man digging as he seems to slowly regain his strength. Cut to more rain and then inside the house as mother and daughter kiss. The gag is put in mother's mouth and then the man leans down to kiss her. We cut back outside to see the man is still digging, with this telling us that the man has now fully adopted the women's lifestyle and is included in their sex games. The storm winds push the house door open and inside we see daughter sitting with her father's corpse and mother chilling on the steps. Cut to the man's room where he is torturing daughter. He says he saw her being tortured as, well, he was the one torturing her. He had to make it seem real so he could eventually get Laura out of here. But until then, he must do what he's told and play the fool, which in his state needs no special effort. He pops on a record and we see mother force-feeding daughter as in voiceover the man admits that there may be something wrong with him. He goes to leave before taking one last look at Laura's portrait then walks out of the room. Cut to someone picking up one of father's special knives and then back to the man digging outside. Back inside, mother wakes daughter up, taking off her face mask and telling her that someone has stolen one of father's knives. Judging by those lace gloves, I'm gonna say it was you, pet. Outside, the man stops digging for a moment, and inside, mother explains to a much more lucid daughter that the knife has been stolen. Mother says the man may have taken it, and daughter says it might have been her. Mother brushes this off when daughter notices strange noises coming from the garden. The women think he might be digging their grave, or even his own, as he might think they're gonna kill him. They decide to both talk to him tomorrow with the gun. Daughter then asks what will happen to her.
What will happen to her?
To whom?
Poor Laura.
Laura?
Cut to the next morning as daughter joins the man in the pit. She says she needs to talk to him. A knife's gone missing and mother thinks he took it. Then mother appears saying the same thing but blaming the accusation on the daughter. Daughter says she's lying and she took it, but mother says she's on his side.
Don't worry. I have the gun.
That's why she told you to deepen the pit, so we both fit.
She's planning to leave you, like the first time.
Oh, no, will you both shut up? I think I've about reached my limit here. I mean, you're gorgeous and the sex is great. I've even come round to the vomit and play, but you and your mum are a nightmare. Daughter tells him not to listen to her as mother leaves and we cut to daughter getting in the car and trying to start the engine. Cut to mother as she says the phone line has been cut. We see the man finally able to tie his shoelaces as he gets into the pit and continues to dig. Daughter joins mother and they tell each other the phone is dead and the car is fucked up. And I actually love this line delivery.
The phone's dead.
I know that, and the car's fucked up.
I didn't know that.
They think the man is trying to isolate and kill them, so after accusing each other, decide to torture and kill him.
Before we kill him, shall we torture him a bit?
While he's still alive, we'll open his belly and fill him with stones.
I genuinely do think I'm in love. Cut to the man doing the water dance and then digging some more. We then cut to the trio engaging in another sex game. Daughter draws the pistol and hides it as she's roped up by the man. Mother then grabs the gun and moves it, which the daughter once again finds before getting banged by the man. Mother takes the gun as she's distracted, and then we cut to her in the bath. Cut to the man getting out of bed and leaving, the mother smashing one out in the bath and the daughter waking up. The Laura song starts as we cut around the house, eventually landing here where daughter is again dressed in her secretary outfit. She's joined by the man when we hard cut to daughter attempting to drown mother in the bath. We see flashes of all the events leading up to this moment when the man repeatedly stabs the mother with a pitchfork.
Someone Sling in!
She begins to cough up blood as the women look into each other's eyes and mother passes away. Cut to daughter at the fireplace as she describes messily ripping mother's stomach open in a fashion that mirrors the first time we saw her speak to us in this room. She then once again explains Laura's disappearance as she did earlier, and the scene is repeated, but this time the man takes the mother's place in the game. And that's when she lifts his skirt, revealing a knife.
No, that's Father's knife. Oh, don't hurt me. Don't. This isn't how we play the game with Mommy.
Which is becoming something of a recurring motif for the channel, unfortunately. He tries to make her play the game, but daughter runs for it, calling out for mother. She manages to get back to the suitcase and draw for the Luger as we see more of father's knife and then cut to the daughter grabbing the clip for the gun. Daughter tries to run again, but is caught by the man who seems to almost dance with her for a moment before lifting up her skirt and penetrating her. In response, daughter shoots the man who falls by her side. They hold hands and lie down together, slowly bleeding out. Daughter accepts that she's dying and tells the man to stay with her.
Don't leave me now. Singapore Sling.
No, mixed messages much. Daughter tries to get away again before touching her wound and seeing the blood on her hand. She stumbles and falls by the pool as we cut to the man falling into the garden. He gets to his feet as the voiceover comes back explaining he knew she would die so didn't lie to her. Besides, she was smart enough to figure it out. Only she wasn't Laura, but that didn't matter anymore. The man then falls into the grave and we watch as he reaches up and starts to pull the soil in on top of him. The end! Well, what a weird, wonderful, confusing, fantastical little art house movie. Excellent. This is the perfect movie for this channel. What a way to end the year. Singapore Sling is pretty much as close as you can get to the perfect movie for this channel. It has everything from beautiful and creative visuals, nudity, gore, and a plot that leaves just enough up to interpretation. I haven't been this thoroughly entertained by a film I've had to review in a very, very long time. Possibly ever. The story here is an interesting one as a former detective searches for his lost love Laura, a woman accused of murder who disappeared 3 years ago. His investigation leads him to mother and daughter, a pair of killers who claim to have murdered Laura 3 years ago, but that story is complicated by the fact that daughter apparently looks exactly like Laura to the point where the man is convinced that they are one and the same. Now the man has to survive through the women's many tortures in order to hopefully save Laura, which, as we know, doesn't go very well. Now, what the was going on here? Starting with daughter, even though the film does show us Laura being gutted in the kitchen, I do like the idea that the daughter is actually Laura. That mother took her in 3 years ago and through a shitload of creative torture was able to brainwash her into becoming the daughter. Then when father returned from hunting, he was presented with a new family member, which he took advantage of. I also got the feeling during the film that the mother might not be real. What if the mother and father were never actually killers? Laura arrives and mother, unhinged by the fact that she and father were never able to conceive, kidnaps her and turns her into daughter. Then, after going through untold madness, including being assaulted by father, Laura snaps, kills them both and buries them in the garden. Driven over the edge by this, she develops the whole Fight Club Tyler Durden thing with mother, and here we are. This theory is thrown out of the window by a few things, including the murder of mother in the bath. The man could be stabbing at the empty bath in order to placate an out-of-her-mind Laura, but that's a stretch. There's also the line at the end where the man says he understands daughter isn't Laura, but I think that more refers to the fact that she's too far gone and he'll never get her back to normal. This is the type of story I love. The surface level narrative works fine on its own, but enough clues are hinted at throughout to give you cause to read between the lines. It gives you lots of information, but nothing is definitive, leaving you a nice open space to play around in, which is my favourite. The characters in the film are also lots of fun for the most part. The man has the least to do on screen, only managing to pull one face throughout the entire film's running time. I do like his film noir voiceover as it perfectly emulates the style of that genre, but on screen he's basically a blank slate. The same cannot be said for our mother-daughter duo. Mother is the less crazy of the two, comfortably in her matriarchal position of power. She's still plagued with the madness under the surface, but it seems with her maturity she has a much better handle on things than her daughter. The daughter, or Laura depending on what you want to believe, is mad as a box of severed penises. Her performance is all over the place, going from calm and collected to manic and unpredictable, and she is just so much fun to watch. I also love how vulgar she is, with her language creating a dissonance with the presentation style. Both actors nailed the style of performance the film is trying to emulate, with their voices and cadence being ripped straight from the 40s. Again, I love the way this performance and presentation clashes with the more modern sex and violence the film has to offer, and if I'm honest, I've found it very inspiring. And this moves us on to my favourite aspect of the film, the presentation. Nikos is basically making a 1940s film here, and while I expected the film noir influence, I did not foresee just how faithful a recreation we'd get. The sets, editing, and absolutely gorgeous score, as well as the performances, all scream classical cinema, and to mix that style with such grotesque subject matter makes for a wonderful experience. Unfortunately, there is one thing that holds Singapore Sling back from being the perfect film, and that is the violence. I feel like I say this a lot, and after last week's massacre, maybe I'm being spoiled, but there could have been a hell of a lot more. I'm speaking specifically about the gutting of Laura and the death of Mother. Maybe they didn't have anyone on hand who could create those effects successfully, so opted to do it off screen, with the rest of the gore consisting of just dumping blood and guts on top of things. You could say that this is in keeping with the times, but I think they could have gone a lot harder here. All in all, I loved Singapore Sling. It's a fantastic throwback to classic cinema mixed with modern horror and art house confusion. Pretty much every aspect of the film is perfection, with the only shortfall for me really coming down to personal taste. It's a surprisingly funny, highly entertaining trip that I recommend to pretty much everyone. So that was my review for Singapore Sling. What do you lot think? I cannot stress enough how much I enjoyed this absolute feast of style. I adored this movie. It's like what would happen if in Brief Encounter everyone tried to fuck each other to death. I love it. And of course, the cherry on top, someone gets with a knife. Speaking of which, if you want to see Daughter's vagina smile completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff being added all the time. Plus, I can promise you, 2023 is going to be mental. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns, commentaries coming soon, the Discord and the podcast coming soon. And we officially hit our first target. I really cannot thank you guys enough. But anyway, all that can be yours for as little as $1 a month. For now. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, as jewels, lavish gowns and knife don't come cheap. It's up to you, innit? You know, it's up to you. So. Any support is support. Don't know how you wouldn't want to get a job. Patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and honestly, I don't understand what this brother's problem is. It looks like the perfect weekend to me. There was a severe lack of in this one though. Father will not be pleased. Happy New Year, you I love you with all of my poisoned, withered little heart. You're the best.